Facebook and YouTube.
Welcome to the Nerd Soul Show. I am Nathan.
I'm John.
And I'm Colin.
Hey everyone, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the Eternals today. We're going to discuss the end credit scenes in more detail than we did on Friday. Also, John is joining us, and
Hey, John, welcome back.
Thank you.
He's going to give his thoughts about the movie because he also saw the movie as well. Also, we're going to go over our rankings of the Eternal members based upon the movie, but also, who we're interested in seeing again in the MCU going down the road. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the controversy between the difference between the audience reaction to the movie and also the critics' reaction to the movie. There's some articles written about this and some speculation written about this that we'll talk about. So, I guess we can start with. Actually, let's start with the controversy stuff. Because John, do you want to, I guess, give a little bit about what you thought about the movie, and then we can dovetail in from that into the conversation about the movie. Before you do that, let me just say we did the spoiler free thing on Friday. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie. But okay, all right, John, go ahead.
My initial reaction after hearing, unfortunately, leading up to the movie, especially on Rotten Tomatoes, which gets a lot of attention from audiences to check it before they go to the movie theaters. Critics are trashing it, right? They're trashing it. It got like 50% on the night I went to go see it, which was last Thursday. And I say to that, critics be damned. I don't understand what the heck they're going on about. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. My family did, and just from looking at it from a nerd perspective, as a comic book reader, it's definitely different from the comics, from the little that I used to read. I thought it was great visuals. You cared about each of the characters. Chloe did a great job. The director did a great job of making you care about each of the characters. Each of the characters got some way to really shine and do something to really stick out. Definitely introduce a lot more new cosmic lore about the origins of the universe and people and stuff like that. So we're definitely going to a new direction there. But some criticism, they did cram a lot. They crammed a lot into it. There was also a red herring that I really didn't like, but that's my personal opinion on that. And but ultimately, I thought it should have been a Disney Plus series. They really should have spent more time, I think. How awesome would that have been to just take your time to take us through the annals of history, 5,000 BC all the way through to the current time, and just kind of take your time with each of the characters. I think that would have been great. And but they shoved it all into a 2.5-hour movie and did the best they could, and I really, really enjoyed it. The red herring I didn't like was Ikaris, the way the Ikaris and the Deviants, the decision that they made about you're led to believe it's the Deviants. And ultimately, it was really Ikaris all along. So, Arisham and Ikaris all along. So,
yeah, I don't. I'm sorry, I forgot to turn off the what you call it. So it's all right. So I didn't necessarily dislike the Ikaris reveal. I did. It was a little annoying that the Deviants didn't have much to do in this movie. They could have kind of cut them out if they were going to not use them. I think they could have done something else. If they were going to do this, if they were going to do that red herring or that redirect, they should have given at the end the Deviant Crow, I think he was named, a little bit more to do. Even if he wasn't the big bad, and it was kind of like it was a misdirect because the audience was being fooled just like all the other Eternals. I feel like like the Eternals were. I think that they could have done a little bit more with that character, because that character and also all the other deviants seem more like old phase 1 villains who are kind of throwaway and disposable and don't have much motivations. Although I guess he did complain about the fact that you guys are the real murderers. You and we just want to live. Mm-hmm. He got that line.
Did they ever explain how Crow was different from all the other deviants? I think I missed that part completely.
So he was absorbing the powers of the Eternals, and one of the reasons that Arishem mentioned that. Sorry, one of the reasons that Arishem decided to scrap the Eternals and scrap the Deviants and go with the Eternals is because the Deviants can evolve. And the Eternals can't. They're basically just like robots.
Oh, that's right.
So he evolved by absorbing some of the powers of the other of the Eternals. So it wasn't something that it's not something that he would have he probably planned for, but it was probably why he was keeping all the memories of the Eternals, because as he said, like he's keeping all the memories of the previous I forget what they called it in the movie. I just know in the comics it's called a host when they get judged. Mm-hmm. But when they destroyed previous worlds, he kept all the memories so he could analyze the deviants, because they do evolve.
Right.
So there was. It was explained in there, but I feel like for general audiences, they wouldn't necessarily clue into all that detail. It went past a little quickly. You had to piece together things from different parts of the movie to understand the full picture of the deviants. Yeah, it wasn't. It was
now that you pointed out, I do remember that part when he told that little flashback about how they can actually evolve, and that's why he created the Eternals. But the main reason that Ikaris, what they did with him, kind of pissed me off a little bit was, I'm a huge fan of Superman, right?
Yes.
And he is basically the Superman representative in this movie here. Mm-hmm. And they just went down the evil Superman trope again, right? I mean, we see that in Injustice, Earth 2, The Boys, Invincible, Justice League, Brightburn. I mean, come on. We have another evil Superman again?
You don't like evil Superman?
I'm tired of it, because it's like, look, if you see, it's cool to see like one time. Oh yeah, Smallville did it too, right? Mm-hmm. And if you see it once or twice, it's kind of fun to see, hey, what if, right? Mm-hmm. Here's a what if, but like everyone's doing it now, right? Everyone's doing it to the point where, okay, we get it. Now we're seeing, I think, for general audiences, more evil Superman types out there versus a good Superman type. I mean, someone that has that powers, right?
In the last maybe five years, sure, but there's, of all the superheroes put to screen, Superman has had the most representation over the last like 50 years, and most of it has been like good Superman. So I guess they're just trying different things. But yeah, he was the Superman. I mean, he's not as strong as Superman, but he was the Superman in this universe, because they even mentioned it. He was like, "You're Superman." They mentioned the DC universe twice in this movie.
Oh yes, they did. Yeah, and it's very interesting in that what you said is that I think I mentioned this on Friday. John was about how this is almost an indictment on DC in some ways, because I think that they did a pretty good job of layering him and making his story pretty compelling instead of boring. Mm-hmm. I'm just comparing it to some of the stuff from DC from the DCU and like how they portrayed Superman. I mean, it's kind of a somewhat boring story, and he didn't really have much to do in that. And I just think that they did a better job with the Superman archetype to kind of give him some layers and to give him some conflict and to give him some story as to like what his motivations are and why is he doing it. And yes, he's a straight arrow. At the end of the day, he's still a straight arrow, but a straight arrow turned heel in many ways.
Correct. And that's the part that also, like, that definitely went against my expectations, because from what I've read in the comics, I don't remember Ikaris ever doing that. So, he was definitely the leader of the team, and I thought he was the hero of the team as well. So.
Well, I mean, so we talked about this on Friday. I can't necessarily say that I know all the storylines from all of the Eternals either, but I did do research for the movie before, and the storyline of Athena losing her memory is something that's in the comics. The storyline of Ajax dying was in the comics, so I don't think they would have kept those things if Ikaris also didn't turn bad at some point. They try to generally like keep threads of things so that comic book people don't complain too much. I'm not sure how many comic book people would have really complained, because the portion of comic book fans who actually follow the Eternals is very, very small. But I think they try to keep like even down to Timmel being in the middle of the Earth. That's something that from the comics they just changed this. They just changed the story a little bit. He was called.
Yeah, they definitely changed some things from the comics. Yeah,
definitely. He was called Timmel.
Then again, the comics has like five different versions of the story anyway.
Yeah, they probably pulled from a couple different stories. So like, I'm forgetting the name of the author. The Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman wrote a very, very recent treatment of them. I think in the 2000s, but originally created by Jack Kirby. So yeah, they've had various iterations, and their books have been canceled a couple times. I don't know what the strategy was for bringing them into the MCU, except for the fact that they open up conversations about the cosmic stuff and talking about bringing the Celestials in might be the way that they introduce the X-Men. Since they work on a cosmic scale, and really you can't talk about the Celestials without some sort of stepping stone to them using the Eternals. So I think that's probably why, even though they're not the most popular group in the comics, and I think that's what the long term plan is. And I mean, I don't know. I definitely cared more about them in this movie than I ever cared about them in the comics. And
that's true too.
Yeah. So she maybe care about all of them, and I understood their motivations. I think on Friday what I mentioned to Colin is that I think this is a better Justice League movie than the original Justice League movie that came out. Because by the end of that movie, I didn't necessarily know everyone's motivations or care about all the characters, and they had 4 more characters in this team than the Justice League movie did. But she managed to have me. I mean, not everyone had the same amount of screen time, but I understood where everyone was coming from in this movie. So.
But also, I think going back to what you said, why they chose Eternals was, I think it was more kind of a petty thing. I think I mentioned this in previous reviews that we've done, where it was supposed to be the Inhumans, but then the Inhumans
they messed that up.
So that but also he had a fight with Jeff Loeb and Feige did,
and Perlmutter.
So he was like, okay, I'm just gonna one up you and just do Eternals instead. And they didn't have X-Men at that time, so X-Men wasn't theirs. So they had to do some type of superhero group. So Eternals was the next one in line.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess if you want to get, I guess Inhumans. If you can't get the Inhumans, you have to go right above them, which is the Eternals. The Marvel lineage of different humanoid super beings is very complex and weird. I mean,
yes, they are.
So you get the Inhumans, you got the mutants, you got the Eternals, which are, and the Deviants, which were created by the Celestials. But the X gene was also seeded by the Celestials at the beginning of creation. The Inhumans were created by the Kree later on. There's all kinds of...
the lore in the movies will definitely... It's gonna...
They got to streamline a lot of that. It's I mean, it's complicated, but it also is 50, 60 years of continuity. That's why it's complicated. You had different writers over many decades writing, so they came up, they wrote in their little corner, which it's all are all supposed to be canon. So yeah. All right, so I guess we can start talking about the end credit scenes. We just talked about what happened in them, but I guess we can start talking about what the implications are for the end credit scene. So we got the mid credit scene, which was at the end of the movie. Arishem showed up, and I didn't even notice this until I got home and read some things. I thought he said I was going to judge. I'll judge whether or not they will continue, and he just dropped them. But I think he took them. He took them. He took them. He took Kingo. He took
Phastos and Sersi.
Phastos and Sersi. Yeah. Sprite, I guess, is a human now, so I guess he didn't bother with her.
She has her own stuff going for her. She has her own stuff going on with going to school. That's a big thing for her.
Yeah, so they're taken by Arishem, which in the comics his full name's like Arishem the Judge, because all the Celestials have different jobs. So at in the mid credit scene, we're back on the Domo with Thena, Makkari, and Druig, right?
Druig.
Yeah. So then a portal comes open, and then Pip, the troll, comes through. Pip is a just an alien who apparently had the space zone for a while, and he retained the ability to create portals. So that's where that portal came from. And he's usually coupled with the guy who's going to show up in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Adam Warlock. Yeah, he's usually with Adam Warlock, but sometimes he's with Skyfox as well. Is it Skyfox? I forget his name.
His name. Well, he said his name was Eros in the Eros.
Yeah.
He goes by Skyfox.
Yeah. Skyfox is his Avengers name.
Wait.
Skyfox,
I think, right?
Huh?
I thought it was Star Fox. No?
Star Fox is the N64 game.
Is that the on?
Yeah, it's Sky Fox is his code name for the Avengers, because at one point he's part of the Avengers. So Eros is Thanos' brother, as he said when he made his introduction, played by Harry Styles. There, he also is. Saying that he's a bit of a libertine is kind of an understatement, because his ability is to make people's pleasure centers go off the charts, and he's used that over the years to be a womanizer. I think the way that they'll probably use him in the future, if they keep that as one of his powers, and the way that he kind of sauntered into the scene, it seems like that they're going to keep that. They'll probably make him more equal opportunity. Like, it won't be just women. He'll right. seduce men and women. But he comes from the planet Titan, just like Thanos. So I don't know if they're gonna what we'll get in a second movie, if they make a second movie. We'll see. It really doesn't depend on the critics. It really depends on what their ultimate box office is. What we'll probably see is some backstory about Titan, and the fact that maybe these Eternals specifically got hip to the plan, and they broke off in 2020. But it seems like what they'll probably say is that there was a whole planet of Eternals who broke off from the Celestials like eons ago, and they created their own society or whatever. But I don't know. What do you guys think based upon that mid-credit scene?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be very interesting in that they could go many sorts of ways. They could go flashback onto Titan and just like spend a little bit of the next movie about Titan, and maybe not a little bit of the movie, but also like Thanos' backstory as well, bringing back Josh Brolin. So that could be the case where they could do that, or they could go. As I mentioned, there's a lot of rock songs. I mean, they could cross over with Guardians 3 in many ways because of Pip's relationship with Adam Warlock. So you got that going for you. And that might go into, people wanted the more quippy type of thing going for them, and not so drabby maybe. They might feel surprised that the next Eternals movie might be the Thor Ragnarok of the Eternals. So, we remember Thor Ragnarok. We remember the first two Thor movies being kind of drab, kind of boring, and maybe not the same style. But then Thor Ragnarok was just a breath of fresh air. And I think that if they need to make a course correction, if Feige decides to make a course correction, they could go down that quippy route, just like what they did with Thor.
Yeah. By the way, it is Star Fox.
It's Star Fox.
Yeah, it's Star Fox after all. Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, when I saw him and they announced him in the movie, when I saw the end credit scene, I was just like, why isn't he purple if he's his brother? And hopefully they'll explain that.
Well, so the explanation for that is that he was born on Titan just like all the other Eternals. So actually, Thanos is related to Thena. I think they have the same grandfather. So Thanos
Yep.
is related to Thanos is related to Thena and also Eros. They have the same grandfather. The Eternals that actually created Titans in the comics left planet Earth to create their own society. That of course is different in the MCU. So there was a lineage that started on Earth that went to Titan. So that society was built up on a different planet. It was actually the moon of Titan, the moon Titan, which is actually
Saturn.
Of Saturn. So he was born with some deviant genes, which is why he looks the way that he does. That's why he's purple.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they'll explain that as well in the future. I don't know what I
did see the movie today also, so I saw it for the second time, and I did catch that. That might have been Saturn actually, where there was like a rich, lush type of Earth type of thing, but then they had rings around it, and then they kind of like laid bare. It was part of the backstory that they were doing, the exposition, and I could have thought that would have been Saturn, or it could have been Titan. So that was kind of an Easter egg in some ways, as to like the evolution. Maybe what you're referring to, Nathan, is that the people came from Earth, they went to Titan, and then stuff happened there.
Maybe. So I don't know what story they're going to go with in the MCU, because they definitely need to streamline 50 years of having the Eternals start on Earth makes the universe a little bit small. I understand why they did it in the comics, because you kind of have to ground the audience with and keep their interests based upon things that they know. But I think they explain things well enough in this movie that we already have established in this movie that the Celestials do this all over the universe. They seed planets for new Celestials to be born, and they need to keep the population growing. So they originally sent out the deviants to kill predators, and then they evolved, and they started killing the population. So they needed a second plan, basically. So they sent the Eternals. So they're Eternals all over the universe, making sure the planet's populations grow, so that Celestials will burst out. So I think that they'll probably say that, like I said, that people rebelled. This is not the first time Eternals have rebelled, or other Eternals rebelled around the universe as well. So maybe that's why the judge has maybe that's why he didn't respond as gravely or immediately like mad as you would expect him to when Erisham showed up. Maybe he already has a process. His process says, I'm going to read your memories and judge the planet based upon what you have in your memories. So
yeah, that was fascinating. To see where that leads us.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with. I guess we'll get some we'll get some explanation from Eros about their lineage and how they're connected to the other Eternals, because he did say my fellow Eternal or something like that. You saw it more recently than I did. I forget, what did he say specifically?
He said something about how Thena was very beautiful, that she was a legend, and also the fact that like I'm also an Eternal too.
Yeah.
And basically trying to, and like you guys, like your friends are in a lot of trouble. We're going to try to rescue them, basically.
It's possible.
He had that technology too.
Right.
It's possible that they met before, because like their memories get wiped every time.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
His memory might have not been wiped out though.
Yeah, he knows her from previous worlds that she helped Celestials, which we call it. So it's possible that they have a previous relationship that she doesn't have access to. So
interesting.
That might be interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So the next credit scene the end credit scene was with Kit Harington, who played Dane Whitman, and he opens up the chest, and there's a sword there, which is the ebony blade, which is what we mentioned on Friday. The ebony blade is sort of like Thor's hammer in that it has it imbues the user with some sort of power, but it also is cursed. As I understand it, so the more that you use it, if you use it for ill intent, it like corrupts your soul or whatever.
Right.
And the person at the end that says, "Do you want to do that?" is actually Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
It was Blade. Yeah. So,
yep.
In the comics, apparently not Mahershala. In the comics, Blade and this character, Dane Whitman's character, which is, what am I say,
Black Knight.
Black Knight. Actually, they fight together because in the comics, Blade is British. He's not American. He's British. So it makes sense that he would be in England there. Although it doesn't seem like Mahershala is playing Blade with a British accent. So I don't know how to explain that. So the next time we might see Blade. Next time we see the Dane Whitman, will probably be in the Blade movie. What do you think they'll do with Dane Whitman in the Black Knight?
It's hard to predict, only because me personally, I have no history of any reading any of the Black Knight stories, and then I've only seen Blade in the comics occasionally with team ups here and there, and so I have no idea what to even expect, where he might even pop up. But if Blade is there, that's his voice, and naturally we can assume that he'll pop up in that movie. But then that also begs the question: what kind of movie are we getting with Blade then? I mean, the ones that we're used to. The three previous ones with Wesley Snipes that have popped up started off as R-rated movies. Actually, all three of them were R-rated movies, and so I don't think these are going to be R-rated unless they're going to go in a Deadpool direction of having an R-rated movie in the MCU. I find that hard to believe, but again, it's tough to figure out how they're going to do it, because Dane's character was such a happy-go-lucky guy with a nice, easy disposition that with a personality that I can see that he could possibly be like comic relief to Blade, perhaps. So I just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I think for me, I think that because I saw the movie again today, it reminded the dark things, the dark magic that's emulating from the Blade. It is interesting in that, it's kind of very similar to Venom, but I don't know if they're going to do Venom, how that's going to cross over, or maybe Sony still has the rights to it. But also the other thing that I was thinking about was Gore the God Butcher, because we know that Thor #4 is coming out, Love and Thunder is coming out next year. So I don't know how, that they might explore that in that movie, like to kind of say that Gordon the God Butcher had imbued some of that magic into that sword, and that's probably where that leads to. But in terms of crossover with the Black Knight with Dane Whitman, I don't see that. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to kind of see where they're going to take Blade to, because it definitely seems as though it's going to be very different from what we're used to. It's not going to, and Feige has already said that you're going to find a different interpretation of all the different characters that you've seen in the past. Blade, X-Men, Fantastic Four is going to be completely kind of almost left field type of way of them coming into the MCU.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
I was going to say it's possible they show up in the Doctor Strange sequel. So, especially with, now that magic is full blown in the MCU, and we know that Wanda's going to show up in that one. Who knows who else may show up, especially if they're going to open up the multiverse with the Spider-Man movie and lead right into Doctor Strange's movie next year. That's probably a good landing spot right there, is to seeing Blade and also Black Knight in that.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Colin, did you read a lot of the Black Knight comics or the?
No, I didn't. But I've been watching a lot of stuff online, and basically just that he was part of the Avengers, and whether or not he's going to be like the lead person in the Avengers, we don't know. I mean, how they all come together will be very fascinating when they get to the fifth Avengers movie. I right now the picture is still very muddled because they're going in many different directions, as you can tell. We just finished Shang-Chi, which is, and they're going in one direction,
Hmm.
and then you got the Eternals, you're going in another direction, and then you got Dane Whitman, who's trying to find Sersi, going in another direction, and then you still have Yelena out there as well, going into another direction. So
Yeah,
how this all weaves together is very
yeah,
fascinating. I don't know how it all comes together. It is very, and we can speculate all night pretty much on how it comes together, but I still don't know. That's what intrigues me.
yeah. So the narrative thread going forward after the Infinity Saga isn't clear to me, like how they're going to connect
Yeah.
things, as you said, because before it was just basically a MacGuffin hunt, and they just had
Yeah. Right.
a bunch of different MacGuffins, and we knew that if you collect them all, that's how they're going to connect things. But it's unclear how they're going to connect things in this new era after the Infinity Saga. But you mentioned a couple things. You said Gore the God Butcher, his blade is actually made of symbiote, and so it's possible what you said
Wow.
is true. And there was a storyline where the his blade, the Gore Butcher's blade, was related to the Black Knight's blade. So the what you were saying, that the symbiote, it looked like the symbiote might be what they're going to do. I mean, they did at the end of at the end of the last Venom movie, they did bring him to the MCU, right? So
Mhm.
it's possible. I mean, that'd be like an unprecedented level of cooperation between Disney and Sony, but because
We'll
they
see. Yeah, we'll see with Spider-Man 3. I mean, the way that they kind of say it is like it's almost pretty much like Spider-Man is just going to go off on its own, like, and let Sony kind of like take over.
Mhm.
But then if you're going to bring it back into the MCU, that's, yeah, I don't know. It's all very interesting, and we might get to see a little bit more in No Way Home. In about a month,
Mhm.
we'll kind of find out some more things,
It
interesting
may be
things.
some more as well as in Morbius, because I mean,
Right.
the
Exactly.
vultures in Morbius,
Yep.
he mentions Venom in that, the last the last trailer
Right. The last trailer.
that
Yep.
came
Yep.
out. We see graffiti with a version of Spider-Man. I think it's the Tom, not the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but
The Tobey
the
Maguire
Tobey
Spider-Man. Yep.
Maguire Spider-Man with the word, I think it
Mhm.
was killer or something like that, or
It's Murderer.
murderer, uh, spray printed across his thing. So I don't know. What it seems like they are cooperating more, because it seems like it's mutually beneficial. I don't know how, given how contentious they were going to take him away a couple years ago. I don't know how
Mhm.
long this cooperation lasts. Hopefully it continues, and they can just use what they need. And they understand, Sony understands that it makes their brand stronger, but who knows how long it lasts. But it's very possible that they say that it's related to the symbiote. But
Mhm.
if they don't have access to it, if they don't have access to it, they'll just make up some other story about what's going on with the blade.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. All right. I guess transition over to our ranking for the Eternals. Who we think? I mean, our favorite characters, and also who we think should show up next, or who we're most excited about showing up next. But before we do that, if you're watching this live or you're watching it later on, please like and subscribe. It helps us grow the channel. That's the only way that YouTube, Facebook, I think we're Twitch as well, knows that we exist. So please like the video, subscribe, follow. Okay, all right. So I guess we can start from bottom to top. So our number, or your number tens. I actually jump back over to the. I'm gonna jump over to my.
Oh, I was surprised. Actually, it was Ikaris actually at the bottom. I just think that there's a lot more characters, even though he did have he's one of the main characters. Kind of like a lot of the screen time was devoted to him. I just think that his heel turn, being very inflexible in his heel turn was it was not shocking. Actually, I would say that it was a little bit of shock, but because he's so rigid, and I mentioned this in the review that he couldn't see it other ways, and the fact that he was kind of remorseful as well, that he couldn't be as flexible as he could have been. I think that and he's very detached from humanity, and I think that that's the type of thing where he loses points for me on that he didn't realize. And also, I had the same impression of John, is that he was supposed to be the big hero. In the trailers, he's supposed to be the big hero, not he is Superman in this movie. So why did he turn evil? And I understand why, but at the same time, I think he loses points for that.
Yeah, I have Ajak at the bottom of my list. I shoot Salma Hayek, beautiful as she is, as great as she is as a presence. I thought there just wasn't a lot there, and I don't care to see that character again. And so I'm okay with that. But as for well, I'll talk about Ikaris when we get to the other rankings. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Um,
Number go ahead, John.
okay. I have Sprite as number 9. With the little that we got, I just didn't care for that story. I just saw it as here we are with Kirsten Dunst's character from Vampire Diaries. You know, uh, where I'm sorry, Interview with the Vampire. To me, it was like a rehash of that. Oh, she can't grow. She has this unrequited love. All that type of stuff. So, I didn't really care for that. And then, so do I expect to look forward to seeing her in the future? Not really. So she's number 9 for me.
Yeah, actually, number 9 for me as well. I think the brilliant writing in terms of her being compared to Tinkerbell. I think that was really great. I
Even
think
the
that
haircut.
yes, when straight down to the haircut, the styling, all of it. And she did have some good moments in terms of like making fun of Gilgamesh, and also like the Avenger throwaway line in the trailer. I think that's great. But she's not gonna. I don't think she's gonna appear much unless they give her powers back, because basically she's going to go back to school. She's going to live her life as a teenager, and so that's pretty much where it's going to be for her. And there's really not much story there now that Ikaris is gone, from her life.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if she's going to retain her powers in the future. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know how old the actress is. I'm assuming she's either
Well,
early 20s or late teens. How old is she?
no, no. She's actually. I think that she is a
Is
child
she
actor.
seriously? Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
yes.
I was going to say they made her human. That's so if they do bring her back, that'll allow her time to or explain away aging later. But
Right.
if she's already an adult,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also she did project herself as an adult in the bar scene. So I mean there is me, again, I don't really think that she's gonna be back anytime soon. And
Yeah.
and the thing is that the character that she's in love with is gone. So it's like
Yeah.
there's no more story for her pretty much. That's true, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like in terms of the story, moving forward, in terms of the Eternals
Sh-
moving
sh-
forward.
yeah. She'll pop
Yeah.
up on a Disney Plus show.
Oh gosh. Mhm.
Yep. Hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Right. Hmm. Number 8 for me was Kingo. I think that his neutrality stance was very problematic for me. I think that he is, and also like he was a blind follower to Ikaris. Like, yeah, he figured out the love triangle. Yes, give him credit for that. But the fact that he kind of sat on the sidelines, and we didn't really know if he actually was one of the people. Well, all the Eternals that we saw had the powers, and they were able to like come together to freeze the celestial. But I don't know if he actually did it or not, because they didn't really show him. They just kind of show him, probably getting back to Mumbai. But yeah, it's unclear. So yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why he loses points in my book. Like, he basically, we talked about it on Friday about neutrality. Leads to more danger and leads to just the status quo. And he basically wanted the Celestial to come out. I mean, he did. We really did even say that too.
I had Druig as my number
Oh,
8. I had Druig down there. I just had a hard time. Although I agreed with him on some of the things, it's just I don't know if it was the actor or the way he portrayed him. I just don't care to see any more of him. I just don't.
mm,
The only thing I really really liked that really stuck out with the actor and Druig was his chemistry with Makkari.
hmm.
Uh, but because it was so unexplored and we really didn't get much behind all that. Um, I don't know. Just to me, it was maybe it was not enough of a tease to see more of him, but I have him low on my list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 8, I think. Mm-hmm. For me, I got Ajak in number 7. I think that I think that because Salma Hayek really owned the role, I really liked the fact that she owned that role. Further down the list, and then also because she's the mother of the of the whole group. Very caring, motherly, that type of thing. Really, that was great. But at the same time, she did deceive them, all of them. So that's why she's further down the list, because she did deceive them and basically lied to them. And so for thousands and thousands of years she held that secret, and then all of a sudden she said, "We got to bring them back together because we got to stop the emergence." It's like, you should have done that. You should have told these guys earlier than what you're doing right now. And that type of thing. And I did say that she actually reminded me a lot of Odin, in terms of, in the back in the day, Odin was a conqueror, like basically not a very lovable figure. And then toward the end of his life, he was a lot more remorseful, sentimental, and basically, that type of character. But the bulk of it was Odin was evil. Mm-hmm. So it's like just not a good character, not evil, but like not a good character. So Ajak in many different ways was like that too.
I have Phastos as my number 7. Although I enjoyed his character and the stuff that he did and his power set as well, I just have other characters that I would like to see more over him, looking forward. But he'll still be there. But the other ones I think I have more interest in seeing again. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was another red herring. It looked like they were setting him up to be the villain early on in the movie, and then turns out that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
I have Sersi. As number 6. I know she's the leader or the de facto leader, and we're definitely going to see more of her. But I don't know. I just thought Gemma was a little flat for me, the way she played her, and she definitely comes off flat compared to the rest of the other characters when you compare them. So again, she's while we are going to see her, I do want to see what's going to happen with her, but not as high as some of the other folks I have on my list.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's number 6 is Thena. I think that I was shocked because I think that I would have had Thena higher, but at the same time, I think we've seen Angelina Jolie play this role before, and so it's almost like she's legendary in playing these action heroes, but the thing is, because of that, it's a little lower. Like she's a little lower on my list because of that. We've seen it before. Tomb Raider, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. A lot of different action series that she's been in, but in this one, she plays a character that has a lot of demons in her head, and I think that because of that, I think she's higher on my list, and they did a better job with her mental health issues than say Captain Marvel. So because of that, I think it was much more layered. It's much more kind of dealing with the vulnerability of it. Whereas in Captain Marvel, which is straight up amnesia. This is more of a kind of a journey for her in terms of she's still struggling with it. It's not something that's like instantly solved. Say for example, going back to Iron Man 3, he had post traumatic stress. Like Tony had post traumatic stress, but it's like, oh, all of a sudden he doesn't have post traumatic stress. It's like, what happened there? It's like he still should be struggling with it, not that he just he's all fine, well and good. You know, when we got to Age of Ultron, he still had those kind of iterations, but it wasn't as pronounced as say it was in Iron Man 3. So I think that it was a good kind of exploration of that type of struggle that she had throughout the movie, and she paid the price for that struggle. You know, with the death of Gilgamesh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh is number five. I think that unfortunately he had to pass away. He got killed. But you know, he nice sense of kind of like the hulking character, but he's almost like a lovable teddy bear as well. So I like the fact that they try to humor him a little bit, but he had a very tender side to him as well. So a lot of multiple layers to his character, not just the brawler. You know, yes, he's a brawler, but there's more to him than just that. And I just really appreciated those different layers of his character, and you know, having him in the movie definitely um, is a good thing, and also being a caretaker to Thena. That's definitely a great thing. You never would see, you know, such a hulking figure be the one that's going to be a caretaker. So I really like that type of appeal to that type of character.
Yeah.
I have Thena as my number five. Thena reminds me of I don't know if you guys know of the character Sentry in Marvel. Sentry also had some mental things to overcome, and I'll be honest, I don't remember Thena at all in the comics, but that's what it reminded me of, and because of that unpredictability, I do want to see more of that character, and it looks like we are going to get more, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, she needs a paycheck, you know. I mean, I think I think it'll be very interesting to. I mean, and also Marvel needs her. I mean, they need a star. I mean, if they're not going to ask Salma Hayek to come back, you know, they need Angelina Jolie, you know,
Correct.
to be more front and center. Mm. Mhm. Mm. That would be some love conflict with him and Thena. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So for all the reasons you stated, Gilgamesh is my number 4 as well. I hope they find a way to resurrect him. I find a way to somehow bring him back. I like this character quite a bit, and I'm all for having him come back. He was a very compelling character. As you said, Colin, too. A big muscle guy like that, or a big heavy, showing a little bit of his tender side and taking care of Thena. I thought was a yeah, exactly. So I thought that was a nice little take on a character like that, and definitely want to see more. And yes, it's very intriguing. Some of what you were saying, Nathan, is that if he does come back and he doesn't have the Earth memories, what does that mean? That's an opportunity for an actor like Don Lee to really show a different side, right? And do a different take on that character. So yeah, that's why he's number 4 on my list.
Mhm. Number 4 on my list is Sersi. I think that you guys are right in terms of Gemma Chan's performance is flat. But I think that she's the lead, and I really appreciate her kind of, first of all, her reluctance at first to being the leader, and then kind of like evolving from that to really having the wherewithal to kind of lead, basically. And I think that, yes, Thena did have to have a pep talk with her to kind of like say, get your butt up and, do this. But at the same time, I think that, she still had to do it. She could just mope all she wants, but she still had to do that. And I think that, there's more to her than just that. And hopefully, she gets to evolve even more into something that's more compelling and less passive. But I can definitely see that why she could be lower on the list because of that passivity. But again, it's just it's great that you get to see all sorts of vulnerabilities that are here within our characters, and it's just another type of character exploration that I do appreciate. Yes. Yes. Hmm. Right. Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to say also that I really enjoyed her in Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, she was a force to be reckoned with in Crazy Rich Asians. Like
Yeah.
she was the boss. Like no one would want to mess with her. Like definitely, and like she was her own woman, and it was a powerful performance overall. I liked her character in Crazy Rich Asians, even though she did have some vulnerabilities. She was, again, like I said, a boss overall. 4.
4. Yep. We're up to 3 now. Okay.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm. I have Makkari. I think that she is so awesome in this movie. We talked about it on Friday. Her skill set, her just her presence also is just like really, really great. Even the smaller scenes in which she's dialoguing with the other Eternals was really good. It was really compelling overall. And I just liked her. I just liked the speed set that they did. The action scenes, they were great. They were just, I saw it again today, and I'm like, wow, this is really, really awesome stuff. So that's why, and just overall, even though she didn't have a lot to do, I think that, not just because the fact that she is deaf, but also I think there were a lot of compelling dialogue between the characters and also her action scenes.
I have Kingo at number 3. Kingo's my number 3. He's going to have to come back and explain himself why he didn't end up in the final battle. I mean, I thought that was, crappy, cowardly.
Yeah.
That
He
initial
did show
standstill.
up at the end, though. He did show up to with Sersi and Sprite. When they did show up near the end before Arishem kidnapped all of them. So yeah.
True, he did. However, come on. He
Hmm.
had all that stuff, all that workout stuff he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the future movies too, he's going to have to give the audience a shirtless scene, after all that hard work as well. So he's got to do that, and he's got to bring back the finger guns. I mean, he did, and his arms are great. They look great.
Right.
But
Right.
knowing the actors, the comedian, his humor as well. I'm looking forward to much more of that in the MCU. I mean, it fits right in with the MCU. So come on, he's got to come back for that, for more comic relief, but also hopefully now that's a redemption story too. Like maybe pointed out, hey, you sat out that battle. You know, you chose to do that, but are you going to join us for these other battles? You know,
I think he's going to have much more of a role in terms of that because he was kidnapped. So I mean, his redemption arc is going to get real quick in the next appearance he's going to be in because he's captured also with Sersi and Phastos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my number 3 actually is Phastos. So
Hey, maybe Bruce Banner too can join that too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nerds.
Yeah. Yeah.
That works. That's all
Exactly.
inclusive. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Exactly.
I have Icarus as number 2. I know
Mm.
you guys had him a lot lower, but I still find him very compelling, even though I didn't like the heel turn that he did. And yeah, he flew too close to the sun in the end there. Uh, talk about talk about being very on
Yeah.
the nose with that
Yep.
reference, right?
Yep.
But I do want to see his redemption story. I think part of it is because of the actor too. I think Richard Madden, I think he's got star power. I really do. He's just one of those actors where you can see him in other bigger movies as well. I was saying, I leaned over to my wife. I was like, you know what? I could see him as James Bond, possibly the next
Mm-hmm.
James Bond, that they go with a younger actor. And I've seen him in some other things, and I still have to finish The Bodyguard. I hear he was excellent in that one. So is it okay? I will definitely finish it. But I've become a fan of this guy. Yeah, I think just in this movie alone, you can just see the way they film. The way they film him and the way they set him up. I mean, he just looks like a superhero. So he just kind of fits with a lot of that. So I would like to see him come back, perhaps again, similar to Gilgamesh, being resurrected, and perhaps have a different take because if he's no longer got those memories, maybe his previous memories will be something where we now see a different version of Ikaris. Or more of a day. That's
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, I might have treated him a little harshly because of the heel turn, but I think that for me, it's there are definitely some nice moments that he has. He has the look of it. But also the one thing that I do want to mention is that he kept his accent throughout, which I hate when people try to change accents and like, oh, let's make an American accent because it's an American movie. It's like, no, they kept his accent, which I really appreciated that part of that
It's
because
Scottish, right?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was refreshing to kind of hear that in a lot of ways and not like just change into American accent. And I think that they did, you know, yeah, they did it with all of them, and I think that Benedict Cumberbatch would have been, he didn't really need to change to American accent for Doctor Strange. I really would have been really interesting if he kept his accent. Right, exactly,
So
exactly,
British
exactly.
transplant. Yeah.
Could they have changed his accent just for that? I mean, come on. I mean, I know. I think that they could have just kept it like that, but the fact that they kept his accent, I think it really was very refreshing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number two was Phastos. I think that him being very authentic, he had a family, he's kind of living that simple life. I really enjoyed that, that he was an internal and then he just kind of decided, you know, he had that kind of like a cynical turn about humanity and then he said that he got lucky that he found a family and it was just a very beautiful type of family time, just a beautiful relationship overall. I just really appreciated that kind of down to earth authenticity that he had, and and then just calling out people's crap about what people are saying. Like you said, Nathan, the dry humor that he had, I really liked it. Really liked it a lot. The IKEA joke was awesome. It just as awesome as it was in the trailers. Yeah, I think overall I just liked him and then also the fact that he was building things. I think that the one thing that I mentioned about him, he's very ambitious. Like he had the steam engine all prepped and ready. He goes like, hey, let's just give them a steam engine. But then I'm like, no, let's just give them a little bit more simpler. All right, a plow. It's like that was really awesome. It was just like, yeah, we're just gonna downgrade to a plow and like not advance human history whatsoever. So it was really fascinating. That this really was a good scene too. Yes. Yes. Right. Yes, I
Yeah,
know. I
just
know.
that pose right there, the picture you have, just the way her face was, badass, right? Just she just knows the
Hmm.
pose.
Hmm. Hmm. For me, I think that because I've seen her so many times with that, that's why she was lower. But also, I liked her in the movie Wanted. I liked her in that movie a lot more than this movie. This was more kind of generic Angelina Jolie action star. Whereas like Wanted, I think that was like kind of like peak Angelina Jolie action star. This is more kind of like, yeah, she's still great. Not to say that she isn't great, but again, she's had that body of work already. I think that that's kind of like the for me the movie Wanted was like her peak. Like wow, like she had everything in place. Mm-hmm. Number one was Druig for me. I think that I mean, let's just put away the cult thing for a little bit. I just think that I really appeal to his, what he said to Ajak, just like challenging her, like say, what the heck are you doing? Like, this is genocide. Like, why aren't you trying to do something about it? And I think that, yes, the way that he mind controlled people, okay, that's kind of problematic. And then the cult, yes, problematic too. But he had a point there. And I really appreciate that he made that point. He called out the crap. And the fact that he's more of a rebel, with the leather jacket and stuff, really appealed to me. He's the anti-hero, but he did it, like I said on Friday, he did kind of fall in line. It's like, okay, I'm going to go with you for now because there's a greater threat. But he has his own kind of cunning type of, his wheels are always turning like their head. It's almost like I mentioned on Friday, he's like the comedian from Watchmen, is that his wheels are always turning. His head, like his wheels in his head's always turning. He's always anticipating. He's always looking, towards the future in a way where it's like analyzing, okay, way ahead of where everyone else is. He's always thinking, and I think that is the part that really appeals to me, and also kind of like, yeah, I know. In some ways, he thinks he knows better, but he doesn't really. But at the same time, I kind of like that type of cockiness in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely saw through Ajax's BS. I What he decided to do with that insight, making a cult, wasn't necessarily what I would have done, but of all the people on that team, he saw through her BS before anyone else. I mean, Ikaris was told. Was told after that scene in South America, but he figured it out, and he rebelled against her.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have Makkari as number one. I really enjoyed her character. It seemed like every time she came on the screen, she just had she brightened up the screen. Her character, you wanted to know more about her, the expressions that she had on her face, and like I said, just with the little screen time she had, it looked like there was instant chemistry with Druig right away, and to his credit too. And honestly, more chemistry than Gemma Chan and Richard Madden with even though they're supposed to be that love triangle with Black Knight, right? Dane Whitman.
I was far more interested in their relationship than I was with the Gemma Chan and Ikaris.
Yeah, I mean, just a little. You could see the sparks, and you're just like, hey, what's going on here? Did I just notice that? And then when they kind of showed it again later on, it's just like, okay, they got something going on here, but what is it? What is it? Right? I want to know more about it. And And I think it's also to her credit too, just the way she just sparkles. I think I've never seen this actress before, but I thought she did a great job. And then with the limited screen time, and then just the character itself, Makkari, I want to learn more about. She did all that reading for thousands of years, right? What the hell does she learn? I want to know what she's going to do with all that too.
Yeah.
You know, it already said on. I think they already said on Twitter. They already do the Drukari thing on Twitter. It was like, oh, that was so pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah, Drukari.
That's cool. All right, so they definitely picked that up too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just too stoic.
Came around to like finding us redeemable in some way, and he was basically a emotionless robot except for when it came to Sersi, and we already mentioned that Sersi was played very passively. So Makkari and Druig, both of them just have more personalities. So seeing them, them interested in each other was just interesting to watch. And it was like, what's going on over there? And when Kingo made a joke about like he doesn't like what's happening, but I wanted to see more what was happening.
Yeah.
It was very
exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so and that's just talking about her relationship with him. But that's not why she's at the top of my list. She's at the top of my list because.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, you didn't
Yeah.
like the part? You didn't like the part when Flash in Justice League, like basically Superman saw him and he's like, "Oh, what the heck?" You didn't like that?
Those were good too.
Yeah.
No, I have to admit, as soon as I saw her like doing the multi punch on him, I was just like, oh man. I'll be as excited as I was seeing that scene. I was disappointed that it wasn't Flash because in the Injustice video games, that's exactly how they portray him. I was like, damn it, they took it and they were the first to portray it. hmm hmm Correct. So they didn't do that. Yep. Yeah, they should have.
No, they decided to do the Superman Flash race instead.
Well, and what we did get was awesome. So yeah. Definitely. Yeah, so I'm with you there. I want to see more of her whipping ass, kicking ass, taking names with her power set. Absolutely.
So I guess we can wrap up our talk there. I mean, any other thoughts about the movie? I guess we didn't talk very much about the critics' reaction. We talked about it a little bit at the top when you gave your thoughts about the movie, John. But I think we touched on the fact that it seems like the critics are panning this movie because they don't want Chloé Zhao to do different things than what they think that she should be doing, which is I think sexist on lots of different levels. It seems to me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's just like the article you sent us, Nathan. It'll talk a little bit about how it is. There's some sexism involved in terms of in terms of these comic book movies. So I think that the other references that they made was with Birds of Prey, and then I don't remember what the other one was. Was it Wonder Woman? I don't remember if it was Wonder Woman or not.
It might have been.
Wonder Woman,
I think it might have been Captain Marvel, but that was a team. But yeah.
Right. So like I mean, it may be because the fandom is mostly male, and then they just have a problem with women directors. But I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to say. I mean, I'll be intrigued as to whether or not what their reactions were to the first Wonder Woman movie, because it was directed by Patty Jenkins, and I don't know. I mean, maybe that's their out. I'm not sure, but at the same time, and I mentioned this on Friday, is that if you're expecting the same quippy stuff again and again and again, some of those movies that had a lot of quips and stuff, like Ant-Man, which had Paul Rudd, which is like quip machine, and then you had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is great quip machine as well, dealing with family and stuff. That's kind of probably near the bottom of most people's lists. It's not, or like forgettable movies. Whereas like this movie is pretty different, and it's a fresh take. And to be honest, even Thor struggled with that. And with the third Thor movie, it's in my top 5 because it's like it's fresh and it's like different than what it was before, and it really reinvigorated the whole franchise, so that now there's a 4th Thor movie. So I think I just think that people, I think the critics and also fans just did not like the difference of Eternals, and maybe it has to do, yes, with the fact that it's Chloé Zhao who's directing, and also Gemma Chan who's the lead. Maybe that has to do with it, but at the same time, it's just like, come on, do you want the same old again? And you attack the fact that it's like all formulaic cookie cutter stuff, like you mentioned, Nathan. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like, what do you want then? Do you want something total fresh take, or do you want something that's formulaic? And of course, going back to formulaic, let's go back earlier to this year with Black Widow. I mean, some parts of it was formulaic, and some of it was a CGI mess. And how do they survive that? And so, and yes, it's I was pretty highly critical of it. I still like the movie, but I was still pretty highly critical of it. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was Scarlett Johansson and a woman director, who was Kate Shortland, who was directing it. But yeah, I did have my criticisms of it. But do you want that, or do you want the quippy stuff, or just because the guys that have to have, or is it only the guys that are allowed to play the sandbox? I just don't know.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that half of the critics did not enjoy this movie.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just like, what are you guys watching? What do you want, right? It's the same with what Colin just said. You can either stick to formula, which ends up getting the great reviews, right? And this one went against that formula for the most part. And it definitely had a ton of characters to introduce, which is why I thought maybe a TV show or limited series would have been better. But regardless, I can't imagine anybody walking out of the theater and saying half of them did not enjoy it, and only the other half are the ones that enjoy that movie. It is, I did see some of the fan feedback, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, so I get it. So there was some slightly slow pacing issues towards the middle of it, but at the same time, to the point where you're falling asleep, come on, that's extreme. At no point did I find any of that stuff happening, or at least I didn't find myself in that position. That means you're not really paying attention, right? So. Yeah. I definitely want to criticize the ones that are criticizing this movie, saying that it just wasn't good enough. And then we also have some of the folks that we think, I think we all heard that there was some review bombing that was going on before the movie actually released, and then that's the ones that want to go against the woke mob, or whatever the hell they want to call it, because this movie dares to have a diverse cast. It dares to touch upon some things that they are not comfortable with, and they're, from what I'm understanding, they're even talking. There's talk of censoring some of the scenes in just some of the other countries as well, which is unfortunate. And it's just like, they can't seem to just get over the fact that these are themes that are and that are actually real in the real world, in the rest of the world, and just because your nation can't put up with it, it's become a controversy, and then people downvote it or they trash it. Oh, I'm not going to watch that because it's got themes that I don't want my kids to see. It's like, seriously, it's there in the rest of the world. I mean, what else are you going to do? Shield them for the rest of your lives? So I do have heavy criticism when it comes to things like that, and especially the sexists, the racists, the bigots that are out there, and then certainly the incels that make big issues of things like this. It's like, were you going to watch it in the first place? If not, shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going also back to Shang-Chi, I mean, I did have some criticism about Shang-Chi as well because, I've seen, like I remember in the review I told you, Nathan, is that I've seen these movies before, like Asian movies before. I've seen Hong Kong movies before. Like, they basically borrowed that a lot. And this is just the Marvelized version of it. And I've seen Michelle Yeoh do that. And I've seen all these type of tropes happen in all sorts of Asian movies done better. And the thing is that, but did I still enjoy the movie? Of course I did. And so I think that, and to some it's a different story, it's a different take on Marvel. So unless you try to embrace the difference and try to embrace the because they're not going back to the Trinity of Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and dealing with their emotions and dealing with their tears like they did in Endgame. I mean, it was funny because one of my friends, he was mentioning, it was pretty much, Endgame was pretty much a tear fest of white guys. And it's like, yeah, it's true. But did I still enjoy Endgame? Yes, of course I did. So it's like, so you can't have it kind of both ways where you're criticizing the fact that it's different, but then it's okay to not to say, oh, it's okay to have that instead, like to have the white guys having all the emotions or going through all the mental stress or going through trials and tribulations. It's not fair because everyone goes through all those, and the storytelling needs to advance beyond those beyond that type of trope and beyond that type of that baseline that's there, because that's what makes movies great, and that's what makes these movies great as well.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, a couple of things in response to what you guys were saying. So I think I said on Friday that this movie isn't perfect, and I think John said it at the beginning of this stream as well, and I think Colin said it as well. But we did our rankings, and we have this in like the middle of the 26 movies. It's nowhere near the bottom. There are two things that to my mind is going on. As I said earlier, I think there are a bunch of reviewers who came to the Chloé Zhao party to chase what Chloé Zhao was doing, and they're penalizing her for doing a mainstream movie, which is condescending and sexist. She can be an auteur. She can be a person who likes artsy stuff and very cerebral movies, and also she can like comic books as well. There are a lot of people who have lots of interest and like lots of different things. Just because you hold your nose up at it doesn't mean that you should penalize this woman for doing things that she's interested in. She's going to make other movies also. So I think there are a lot of critics who showed up to this movie who don't usually review these kinds of movies. I think Colin was saying that you want to see what they reviewed her for Wonder Woman, or what the review was for Wonder Woman. I think a lot of these critics who showed up didn't review Wonder Woman, didn't review other movies like this. I know just in my cursory searching of looking at all the critics from on Friday, I know one critic that writes for the New York Times did not review Black Widow, did not review Shang-Chi, but she showed up to review this movie. Why? Because Chloé Zhao was here, and she's panned the movie. It's like you don't like these kinds of movies anyway. You would have given it a negative review. Apparently, years ago, you decided to stop reviewing these kind of movies anyway. So you showed up just to crap on Chloé Zhao. Why? So that's part of my reaction to what's happening over the last couple of days. But the audience reaction is different from the critics' reaction. So I think like it's still like 80-something% audience reaction is positive audience reaction. I think it's like 84, 85 right now.
Yes.
Which and people aren't crazy. Like they're not like reacting in complete opposition to the critics. They just went to the movie and there's no way that you come out of this movie and like 50% of people dislike the movie. As we said, the movie has issues, some issues. That's why it's not at the top of our list, but it's not a terrible movie.
No.
And I only think that it's at 80% right now because of some of the people that you mentioned, John. Some of the people that
Yep.
are posting inside of posting the this is a woke mess. This is whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
listen, everyone. Those of the global majority have been going to the movies for decades now, watching white guys, and we've watched these movies and we've enjoyed them. The predominant audience that usually gets to be the heroes in these movies need to just adjust to the fact that we're going to tell different stories.
Yep. Get used to it.
Yeah.
They got to get used to it. It's here. No matter how much they bitch and complain, it's here. And we saw it in the comic book world when Marvel actually did this with a lot of their main heroes. They brought in new iterations of the famous heroes, and we're going to see them in the Marvel universe as well in the movie theater. And a lot of those heroes are coming to the screen and also to Disney Plus on those limited series shows as well. So it's coming. So they better get used to it.
Yeah. All right, I think we can wrap up there, but that's what we think about the movie. We're interested to hear what you guys think. We're also interested to hear what your rankings are for The Eternal, so please comment down below. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and we will see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.